So, this is my telescope mount. It is a Celestron Advanced AVX or AVX. Um, I got it about a month ago. Have had about 3, 4 nights to use it. I live in Canada, so it's been quite cloudy. I've haven't taken it apart to grease it, clean it, maintain it, so on and so forth. And I do not know the last time this was done. So that's what I want to do today. I'm going to take apart the axes, I'm going to grease it, clean it up, so on and so forth. Um, the reason being is because if I loosen the clutch and I turn it, it feels quite grainy, and I don't like that. When there's grain, when it feels grainy and there's metal rubbing together, you're essentially sanding down the metal. And it's for both axes as well. This one is just quite a bit more stiff. So, my plan, take it apart. I don't really know what I'm doing. Take it apart, grease it, clean it up, see how it feels, fix the gear mesh, blah, blah, blah. Got the mount on the table, and I'm just going to start by taking off the dovetail screws. So I don't need them on here at the moment. Those are off. So I know you can take it off from the bottom here with this ring kind of bolt. What I don't know is how easy it would be to take off from this side. So I think I'm going to stick with taking it off from this back side, because that's what I've seen people do with this mount. That cable off. So first things first, I need to get the motor off. So I need a star. I kind of just dumped all my screwdrivers out in a pile, so it'd be a little bit easier for me. This one should work. A 0 by 5 millimeter Phillips. Yep. I'm just removing the cover here. I don't really have a place to put all these screws, which I did not think of. Now I thought of that. Now I have a place, a lens cap. There's that one. Now, see these top ones? They're going to be a bit more tricky. Pay attention to these. So the pointed tip ones go in the top. Should be easy to remember. Okay, so that's those ones. The only one I'm worried about is this little guy back here, which is proving to not be a problem at all. Tap these screws out, there should be 3. Pointed screws in the top. And then I'm just going to leave this attached so I know what is what. What do I want to do next? Well, actually, I can detach that because I know that's the bottom. What I'll do is I'll just attach it like so. So now you have the motor, which is exposed, along with all the gearing. Now there's these two gears, and then inside of here there's a Phillips gear. A Phillips gear? No. Where are my words going? Not a Phillips gear, a worm gear. That's the word I was looking for. So I am now going to get these gears off. I will need, I believe it's the one that's already on this screwdriver. Nope, it's smaller. Maybe this guy. No. That one that's sitting behind the camera. It is indeed. Probably, actually. Yep. Take that one off, and I don't know. Ah, sorry. Little tip to everyone. If you're going to turn gears like that, maybe use a glove, because that hurts. So that just pops right off. There. The next step is getting the motor off. Okay. So this is a different size Allen key. It's the one that was on the screwdriver already. Just gonna take them out. And what I'm gonna do with these ones is I'm just going to put them back in the motor. Or drop them, that works too. There we go. So there's the motor. So you have the actual motor up here, and then this all is a gearbox, right? So what I do is I just carefully, hopefully, go. As I very gently put the screws back in. Sorry, I just hit my mic. So, what I want to do next is try to get this off. Now, I've seen a bunch of people do it with like 2 Allen keys and pliers, a bunch of different ways. Also, not too sure as to what happens if you take off this top plate. So that's a tough one. I think I will attempt to get those 2 out and see where it goes from there. So what I'm gonna try to do is get 2 decently small, if I have 2 decently small bits that will fit in those holes. That one fits. That one's a little bit too loose. So is that one. Give it a screw. So the one kind of fits. decently enough. I guess it's gonna have to be this guy. It's not gonna be that guy. Okay, let's try these two small ones. One's in. One's in. And nothing wants to happen. No, okay, so that's obviously not going to work. So now I'm thinking it's this way. That's going to have to come apart. Is that loose? No, that's just the wrong size. That's the right size. That was pretty simple. Don't know if I'll be able to do it the same way. I need some sort of leverage. I got a wrench. So I just stick that in there. Like so. Crack it. Make sure that one's all the way in. Turn them out, crack it. This top one I should be able to crack lengthwise. Yep. Let's get these out. Now I'm curious. These are all the same size. Yes, they are. Don't entirely know what's gonna happen when I take this last screw out. Is the piece gonna fall to the back? Is this gonna slide off? It is. So this, to me, I don't know how well you can see it. Maybe if I shine a light on it. That's terrible color. This to me, it looks okay, but on this side, it's definitely like original grease with it. I'm glad that I am doing this. So now that's the top plate. You can see how the clutch works in there. It just kind of protrudes out a little bit. So, but you can clean the inside of this guy up as best as I can. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so it's in here that spins. This whole outer thing is just an outer column. That's new. I didn't know that. So we got that done. That's all clean. Now we can get the worm gear bracket off, unless I don't need to, and I can just push the bottom out. Cannot push the bottom out. Actually, I'm really curious if there is a way that I can just get those two little things out. They're two small enough Allen keys to fit in there. Nope. Don't even have a one. I do need to get that off. But first, actually, let's take off the whole axis right here. Make it a little bit easier to work with. I figured it out. So I didn't really need to take off that little plate for what I wanted to do. I just had to take off the worm gear, which feels okay. Wonder could benefit greasing this or not. I mean, definitely this part, but I'm talking about like here and here. I'm just gonna put these screws. No, not those ones. Those are not for that. It's those. Okay. So what I discovered is that so that now all rotates a little rough. Ah, there's set screws. I forgot about that part. So I don't think you'll be able to see this, but in that tiny little hole, there's a few set screws. Too big. Too small. I've watched tons of videos on people maintaining these, and yet I completely forgot about them. Now the real question is, do I even have proper Allen key? Take that off. The question is, or the answer is, I think that's it. Yep. That's one. There's two. Okay, use this one. Oh yeah, so now it's loosening. So if I can get that in there, hold it, or hold it some other way. Let's do this. Two Allen keys, or Allen key and a little bit somehow. There we go. Yeah, I've seen quite a few people do this, and they all say like, hey, this is how I do it. There's no real way. Everyone, I don't even know if there's an actual tool for it, but there's what we were trying to get off. A little aluminum ring. Set that aside. Now, theoretically, don't really know what happens now. Like, does this come out, or is it not? Oh, I think it does, hearing that. Let's give a few taps. There she is. Wow. So that's the piece you're trying to get out. Now with that out, I'm gonna use a bit of acetone to clean it. Just a little bit. Acetone, it evaporates. So I'm not too worried about that. It is very strong though, this stuff, so just cleaning as much surface area as I can, along with trying not to get too much grease on my hand, and then wipe it where I've just cleaned. Pretty good. Just want to get in this little crease as best as I can. Like so. So it's that piece all cleaned. Now, yeah, I probably should clean these too. I'm just gonna clean everything. So that's the whole point doing this. Let's clean my hands again. Now the interior of here is pretty grimy, so that's gonna take quite the effort, I should say. Yeah, so that's all like old grease that's never been dealt with or replaced. Not that it's like the end of the world if it's not dealt with, just maintenance. Which I'm kind of glad the person before didn't, or at least as far as I know, didn't do it, because this is something I've done a lot of research on, and I wanted to do this. A little bit too much on that cloth there. Side is looking very clean. See the difference now, nice and shiny. I think I need a new cloth. Okay, that is all the parts from this side as clean as I'd like them. Try something. That's just a little bit extra light. So now it's time to grease and reassemble. Got white lithium grease. Of course, I'm going to cut the tip off of it. Just like so, should be fine. So what I firstly want to do is grease this side. Do you have to shake this stuff? Let me see. Guess you do, because liquid came out. Okay. A little bit. here, get that going. Okay. So first piece, which I gotta clean again now, oils and whatnot on it, is this main beam, which slides down in there. I'm not gonna put absolutely outstanding amount. I'd say something along the lines of that is pretty good. Okay, so that's that. Now, slide that in, but I gotta grease this bearing here, which isn't really a bearing, it's just metal on metal contact, so. You know what? A whole lot easier if I just put it on my finger. Spread it where I want it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see in there, but that's that greased up. Put a little bit extra on the mating surface. Because why not? Grease never hurt anyone. This just pops. Did I forget bearing? I don't believe I did. This one, I did. Take it off now. See how the grease is rolling. Looks fairly good. Feels smooth. Happy with that. So now I'm going to put this bottom piece back on. A little bit of grease back on this. Tad bit grease. Bottom of this. Just slowly thread it back on. While wiping my hands so I don't cover everything in grease. So now I gotta get this little guy as tight as I can. Right, that right there feels worlds better than compared to how it felt before. So very, very pleased with that. Oh yeah. It's looking quite nice. Yeah. So now, tighten back up these set screws. Possibly, or this go tighter, apparently. Gotta tighten it. That's good. That's good. That is too tight now. This is all a learning curve for me also, so. Come on, loosen a bit, would you? There we go. Yeah, that feels good. Right about there. Tighten up this. Oh, get tight. That's so bizarre. Okay. Done. Feels pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now it's this guy, which this has to go on first. Gonna spread a little bit around the edge it sits on. Hopefully it'll spread more of itself out. That's my hope anyways. Then we just slide this little ring or bearing, whatever you want to call it, back on there. Grab a new cloth. Just get something small to tap it down a bit. Spin it so some of that grease can get spun around, which feels good. Now this guy goes on like so and spins. To be honest, I'm not really sure how it entirely works, but I am going to put some grease inside of here. Not a whole lot, but just enough to keep it all greased up, so to speak. Like so. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but there's a very thin layer in there. And slide it on. Give it some turns. It's feeling very, very nice. So, up next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this axis back together, and then we are going to continue on with the other side. So first, I think, what do I want to do first? Motor? Yes. Don't drop screws. It's bad. So I'm going to try to clean some of the grease off this what is it called? Why do I always forget what it's called? Worm gear. And I just put a little bit around the worm gear. Where'd my cloth go? Is that it? That is it. So this, did I put that on upside down? I did put this on upside down. This was on upside down. Make sure you put it the right direction. I'm gonna apply a little tad more grease on this one. Just on this one edge. There we go. Give it some spins. Okay, now it's on the proper way. So I can continue with putting the worm gear back on. Yep. So these two screws go at the bottom, which I need down in case my fingers are quite greasy. Other one. Do them. I'm not going to tighten them all the way because I still have to do the meshing of the gears. But that is one axis completely done. And like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. So this, my mount one day could just fully explode. Actually, it's not done. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to put the clutch and the dovetail back on, which should probably put a little bit of grease in here because it's quite dry. So I think I'm going to do that and then slap it back on. I don't know if this is actually a good area to grease, but it's getting it anyways. So now 4 big screws, and it went 2 rusted at the outside, 2 non-rusted on the inside. Tighten them up with my greasy fingers. Wonder if I have a bit I could do this with. I must have one. This kind maybe? Really help if my fingers were less greasy. It's too big. It's probably way too big. That's good. Can't have it too big. Let me go take a peek. What size? 5. I do have a 5. Is that perfect? That is perfect. Okay. The reason is so I can use this on its lowest torque setting. I'm not absolutely cranking these, I'm just tight, like getting them up. Just make sure. Oh, wow. That's feeling really good. So I just gotta double check the tightness. Light died, which is okay. That one. It's a bit loose. And these ones don't really have equipment. I'm just gonna leave them like so. I call that good. But clutch is solid. Like it's working really well. And if you hear that clicking, that's just this guy right here because it's not fully tight. So that I can set off to the side. We're done with that axis. Now we can move on to the other axis. Okay, so for adjust the camera, sit right there. So for this axis, this is where the polar scope is. Slide that out. I don't know if you can see through it, but yeah, there it is. That's the polar scope. Set that aside. No need to use that. Okay, so this axis is completely the same. So what I'm thinking is I have to take off the control panel to get to the internal. So to do that, I need that small Phillips screwdriver. Turn it this way so you can see a bit better. Now, I should have probably already said this, but if you're someone who doesn't feel very comfortable taking things apart, I don't recommend you do this. Reason being, I'm doing it. If I can get the screw, is because I'm perfectly comfortable with tearing apart this whole mount and putting it back together. I have no issues with that. Let's see if I can get this one here out. Bigger screwdriver, which equals maybe not. And there's one little screw on the back here, which appears to not want to come out. He's the last little guy on this mystery journey. It's a bit smaller. There we go. Tiny flathead. Oh yeah. Okay. So I need a new place to put all these screws. Got it. And hopefully I can get this guy out. So those are for the body of the control panel. Then to get the motor and everything off, don't want to lose those. Go back to the small Phillips. These can be set aside. Now for this lower case, there's one more big Phillips. On either side. My opinion, I'd have to adjust. Wasn't expecting that to come out, but it did. I feel like it should just slide off. Okay. Oops. Fix my microphone here. To be honest, I don't know if I have to get this little plastic piece off because now I have access to all the set screws. I'm gonna try to spin it so I can see. Oh, that's really stiff. See those little guys? One just completely missing a set screw. I'm a little confused on what Allen key is at work here. Ah, it is this one. I believe, at least. Yep. So now, spin it. What's the next one? It's right there. Leave. Can't tell if that's a third one or the same one. Nope, that's a third. Okay. That is set screws off. I gotta figure out how to get that off. Okay. Make sure my mics are still on. After a bit of work, I got it off, which I'm very glad about. Now, just if I can pop this whole side off. Gotta be more careful with this side because there is actual bearings, so I don't want to mess those up. Like this one. That. And that. Okay. Cloth. Just gonna clean this guy up first. Best as I can, really. It's already pretty clean, but like I won't be able to get all the way down in there, but it's looking pretty good. That guy can be cleaned. Oh, it's greasy. You can see how much cleaner that looks without all the grease. So now, clean this guy as best as I can. There is a lot of grease on this axis, a lot more than the other side. Not sure why. That's looking pretty good. So, I'm not gonna touch the bearings because there's no need to, but I am gonna grease the inside of this. So again, just putting a thin layer of grease in there. Hopefully, I'm not expecting it to really up the performance or anything. I was hoping I'll just I'm not expecting it to up the performance or anything drastically. Just hoping it'll run a fair bit smoother, so to say. Slide back on carefully. Get some twists in, spread that grease around. I'll have to wipe my hands off with again. There we go. So just slid into place, and it is feeling nice and smooth. Next up, this guy. I'm gonna put some grease on him just because it was covered. I took it off. That's around. Then this bearing, which is a sealed bearing, still feels good. I am going to put some grease on the inner and outer shaft. Much harder to turn this bearing. Okay. Another hand cloth. Okay, I took out this bearing, which I said I wasn't going to, but it's more of an open bearing, so I would like to get grease in there. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at this moment, is just greasing that area where that open bearing sits, because like I said, it is an open bearing, unlike the other big clothesbands. It can't hurt to grease it. And there's a base plate for it. Just throwing a little bit of grease, like so, around it. Drop it back in. I'm gonna also put a little bit of grease on the balls itself. Just to help them out a bit. Keep them well lubricated, keep the friction down. Just kind of like that, so as it spins and turns, it will spread. I'm gonna drop that back in there. Give that a slight turn. Now, actually, I shouldn't have dropped that in there yet, because I do want to flip this over. Check what the other side. Okay, so this is okay. There's only one real contact area on this side, so grease it up. Nice thin layer of grease. There. Make sure I don't drop this stuff. Then flip it back around. Drop this bearing back in. Now this has to go back in. And I'm gonna put a little bit. The only place that I'm putting grease is, I don't know if you'll see it, but these rings. That tells me there's a small area there that might be frictionating. I don't know the actual word for it, but being in contact with another piece of metal, so to say. Then just the last piece is a little bit around where the worm gear rolls around. So over time, it can spread out. So now what I'm going to do, drop this carefully back on. Unless I'm missing something, it doesn't appear I am. Give it a push. Respectfully, telescope mount, please go back to it. Anyway. Okay. One moment. After a fair bit of effort, I got the axis back in, and it's working beautifully. So now, this bearing, and then this little ring. Hoping and just very gently screw back on. This one's deeper than the other one, so it's a bit more tricky as I get it. So that's back in. Make sure everything spins nice and freely. So that feels absolutely perfect. So now I got to tighten up those set screws again, which there's one right there, which is beautiful. I'm not gonna do it crazy tight, just tight enough to hold that ring in place where it needs to be. That's how I like to go. So should be, yeah, one more. There it is. Yeah, I'm using the wrong Allen key there. Let's give that a spin. Oh yeah, that's feeling excellent. That is feeling so smooth, not grainy like before. The clutch is working really good. So I'm gonna go wash my hands because they're covered in grease and everything, very slippery, and I'm gonna come back and we're gonna reassemble this mount. So, reassembling the mount. Get some of the stuff out of the way here. I think we're done with the Allen keys. I think now what I can do is put this, whoops, this top plate back on here onto the motor. Yeah. That's going to be the first step. Actually, I lied. I'm going to put these big screws back in just to hold this bottom. So that's not threading in, it's not. Ah, I see. I have it popped out of its place. probably, there we go. Not gonna, probably shouldn't have slammed it down like that, but I'm not gonna do these two big screws crazy tight because it's literally just to hold on the plastic case for the motors. So snug should be fine. I want to get something under there so this whole thing doesn't tip over. There we go. Okay. So the next step I want to do is this guy. As for the screws, got them right here. So one, and then I gotta find my star screwdriver I was using, which is this one. One, and there's one all the way down in the bottom. There's one more in the back here. Just do them snug. I really don't believe they need to be like cranked tight. As long as they're in there, I don't think everything's just gonna fall apart magically. Now for the iconic AVX top plate, which is the one plate that lets you know what mount you own. And I can't forget this weird little piece. I don't know what it's for, but I do need to make sure it goes snugly back into its place nicely. Slide this plate back on. First one I'm going to start off with, because it's the tiniest of screws. I don't know if I showed you guys. Look how small this little screw is. Where's the screwdriver I used for that? I'm getting lost. Where did you go, little guy? There you are. Oops. So that one really doesn't need to be tight because that's just going straight into plastic. Now for the bit, I didn't really pay attention to. Which was the fact that there's one long screw, which I assume goes back here. And two shorter screws, which I assume go on this side. And no, those, if you can hear those cracking sounds, it is not the mount breaking, it is just everything falling back together, so to say. Okie dokie. That is this whole side put back together, except for one small thing. The little butt cap. But other than that, that is that side. Now if I loosen clutch, be rubbing on. It's rubbing on plastic apparently. Put another one. Flathead. Okay, other than that slight rubbing noise, everything is perfect. Now, that should all be good. Now to put this axis back onto this one. Like so. These two screws. I also believe hand would stop shaking. 4.5. It's not a 4.5 actually. It's this one. A 5. Oh yeah, that turns so much nicer than before. So much nicer. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm gonna set this back to the angle it was at. Okay. So the last step in this endeavor is this motor. So first, I want to mesh these gears decently, but I don't want to have it like rammed up against it. It's a bit tighter than that. That feels pretty good. So now all I'll do is just tighten these bottom ones. Yep, that feels great. Snug those up. That feels good. So now, you gotta put the motor on. But for this, one little annoying caveat is you have to put the motor on, mesh the gears, take the motor. What was it? It was something, it's something annoying. So you put the motor in. get the screw in if you can. There we go. That's clearly, they're still greasy. It's making it quite a bit more difficult. Okay, as you can see, I got part of the motor back on. I just gotta get these other 2 screws. These ones are a bit more tedious. For some reason or another. Not too sure why. It's almost impossible just to get them in. Okay, I got 1 in, or 2 I should say. There we go. Snug these up. And this final step, put the gear back on. And I like to get the gears right there nice and flush. Because what? I don't really know why, I just like to. Yep, nice and flush. Just tighten up these set screws. Not crazy tight, because if you tighten them too much, you'll never be able to get them back out. Just enough so they're set. And that gear is not going anywhere. Now, the last piece of the puzzle. The cover for this motor. This piece with the control board is the bottom. Just plug that back in. And then there's 2. Find them. 2 bigger screws that go up through the bottom. Where did I put them? Interesting. Oh, they're not 2 finer screws. Okay. They're just 2. I got them. I didn't lose them. I was just thinking of a different type of screw. This. Screw into there like so. Hope that's, yep, that's screwing in. And again, you don't want to crank these because you're just putting them on to hold on the covers. Just nice and snug like a bug in a rug is where you want. And last but not least, this dear old top cover, which has 4 these like pointed screws. You just put them back in their respective places. I really hope this audio quality on this video turns out well, because I literally yesterday just got this mic set up. Hence why I'm creating this video. Okay, this one's a little pain in the butt, so I'm going to take this guy off. I don't recommend you do this just to get that screw in. It's just I want that screw in properly. And now it's in. Then I can put this back on. Get started. This guy, which is the wrong. Apparently, wrong key. That's wrong. I wonder where my big Allen can go. Clutch. It's good. Then, yeah, feels a lot smoother than previously. Just snug these up. Put that off to one side a bit. Very interesting. I wonder if there's like a certain way this goes. Okay. As you can see, the mount is completely back together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all back on the tripod, plug it in, and see how it does. Okie dokie. I got the mount plugged in. I don't know if you can see it, but down there's a power adapter. If it doesn't turn on, then we know I did something wrong. There we go. So let's see. I just want to hear what it sounds like moving. Don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Okay, so that top gear mesh might be a little too tight. Yeah, it might be a little bit too tight. But now let's put my telescope on it and just see what it sounds like with weight on it. And this whole telescope setup, you probably can't see the whole thing, but it is a 11-pound setup. So let's just give it a slew here. Okay. Oh yeah. Make sure all the points are lined up. Oops. See how that feels? It feels wonderful, actually. Line those points back up. Then this axis. I should probably put a counterweight on it so I can actually see how it feels. Okay, well, I made a dear old mistake. Remember what I was telling you about the bottom of... I didn't put that in this video. The end of this nut is stuck on here, so I gotta get that off. I got it. Now, I just gotta take the counterweight off the bar. Put that down. Put the counterweight bar on. Make sure it's nice and snug because you don't want it falling off. And put the counterweight on. Along with the stopper. Now let's see. Oh wow. Before, if it was out of balance, so if this was telescope heavy before, it would just sit here. If it was weight heavy before, it again would also just sit here. So the fact that it's actually swinging is it's telling me that what I did was something good, was something that was needed. Wow. Okay, so this is actually telling me a lot. This is where I had the counterweight before. This exact spot is where I'd always set the counterweight, the 3-4 times I used it. And it's telling me that I had it way off balance. Because when I would balance it, it would just sit here. Like it would just stay like this. And I'd be like, oh, okay, that's balanced. And then I would bring it to the other side. It would just sit here. But clearly, it was not. Like now it's balanced. And like before, I don't know how well you can see this, but it just swings. Before, it would not do that. That's amazing. And then obviously the clutch tightens everything up, and then you can check the balance of this side, which seems pretty good. Wow. I'm shocked about this though. I'm so shocked about that. That just really tells me that this really needed to be done. Like really needed to be done. Okay. That is pretty much going to be all with taking care of my lubricating my Celestron AVX. I don't know why I didn't slew it with everything attached. Yeah, that's much better. Now I can actually balance it. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed taking stuff apart, fixing it, blah, 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 very much. I don't know why, but yeah, it took me about 2-3 hours. I had fun with it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something if you own a Celestron AVX. And I will see you in the next one, which is, I don't know when it'll be because it's winter in Canada and it's been cloudy for 5 months. Thank you.